If you've ever had a bad case of poison ivy, you know just how miserable it can be. The itching can drive you crazy, the blisters can last for weeks, and if you're really allergic like I am, you can end up in a doctor's office. That happened to me several times. But here's the amazing part. Today, I'm around poison ivy all the time, and I haven't had a rash in years. And I'll show you how I do that. I didn't become immune. I'm still very allergic to poison ivy. I simply learned a few things that completely changed the way I deal with it. I wish somebody had told me these things years ago because they would have saved me a lot of misery. The first thing I did was to learn to recognize poison ivy. You've probably heard the saying, leaves of three, let it be, or hairy vine, no friend of mine. That's a great place to start, but just remember, poison ivy can look different in the spring, summer, and fall. So don't memorize just one picture. Look at several examples until you're familiar with it. And once you know what you're looking for, you'll be surprised how often you start spotting it. I'm to the point that anytime I walk around the woods or the yard, I can spot poison ivy instantly. But this is something a lot of people don't know. It isn't actually the leaves that give you the rash. It's an invisible sticky oil called urushiol that's found throughout the plant. The leaves, the stems, the vines, even the roots. And once I understood that, everything finally started to make sense because I realized I wasn't really fighting the plant. I was fighting the oil. Let me show you what I mean. Since you actually can't see the poison ivy oil, I'm going to use ordinary grease to represent it. Imagine this grease is the poison ivy oil. Now, watch what happens when I try to wash it off using only water. See that? Most of it is still there. And if I start rubbing it around, I'm simply spreading it further and further. Now, let's try it again. This time, I'm going to use a grease cutting soap. Now the grease breaks down and washes away. But the same way you clean greasy pots and pans, you need to use warm water. It works better than cold water. And the faster you remove the oil, the less chance you have of getting a rash. That simple demonstration completely changed the way I looked at poison ivy. I stopped thinking, oh, I touched poison ivy. Instead, I started thinking, I may have the invisible grease on my skin. And once I made that change, everything else became obvious. Now let's say you're planting a tree, and without realizing it, your shovel cuts through poison ivy roots. Now, that invisible oil is on the shovel. And a few minutes later, you grab the handle, you grab the shovel, and you never touch the plant, but you touch the oil. The same thing can happen with pruning shears, chainsaws, weed trimmers, or just about any tool you're using around brush or weeds. But I honestly think that this next one is how most homeowners get poison ivy without ever realizing it. You're trimming weeds around your property. Hidden in those weeds is one little poison ivy plant. You never even see it. The weed trimmer cuts right through it and the oil becomes a spray. And it can end up on your pants, your boots, your gloves, and your shirt. Nothing happens right away. But later that day, you scratch your leg, you wipe sweat off your forehead, or you pull the shirt over your head. And you transfer that oil onto your skin. And a couple days later, the rash shows up. And you're wondering, where did I get this poison ivy? There's a good chance it happened while trimming the weeds. But that's still not the biggest mistake people make, because there are two more ways people get poison ivy that most people never think about. And after that, I'll show you exactly what I do that has kept me poison ivy free for years. So here's another way people get poison ivy that a lot of people never think about. Your dog or cat go running through poison ivy, and that sticky oil can get on its fur. Now, most pets don't get the same kind of rash we do, but the oil can still stay on there, and then when you pet your dog, the oil gets on your hands, you rub your eyes, you touch your face, or you scratch your arm, and once again, you never touch the plant, you only touch the oil. Now, one more thing, and this can actually be dangerous or fatal. Never burn poison ivy, poison oak, or poison sumac. When those plants burn, the oil can turn into smoke. Now it's a vapor, and if you breathe that smoke, it can cause a very serious allergic reaction. If you're cleaning up brush and you aren't absolutely sure what's in that pile, don't burn it. It simply isn't worth the risk. Now, here's exactly what I do. If I know I'm going to be working around woods, brush, fence rows, or overgrown areas, I wear long sleeves, long pants, boots, and gloves. Those clothes don't stop the oil from getting on them, they simply keep the oil off my skin. And this next trick works great for exposed skin and is my favorite. I take a degreaser dish soap and rub it on any exposed skin before I get it. That way, if I come in contact with poison ivy oil, then it gets on the soap and not on my skin. And when I'm finished from working outside, I don't just walk in the house. I treat those clothes as though they have greasy oil on them. I avoid wiping sweat off my face with dirty gloves, and I don't rub my eyes. And I don't touch things around the house until I've cleaned up. Then my work clothes go straight in the washing machine. And don't forget about your gloves, your boots, or your hat either. Because if the oil got on them today, it can still get on you tomorrow. So if I think I've been anywhere near poison ivy, I wash as soon as I reasonably can. I use plenty of soap and very warm running water. I wash my hands, my wrists, my forearms, my face, between the fingers, under my fingernails. The sooner you remove that oil, the better your chances are of preventing a reaction. And wash several times, just to make sure you get it all off. And the dish soap that you put on before you went out will help you remove the oil faster. This is especially true if you can't get to your house quickly. I also clean my boots, my gloves, and any tool that may have come in contact with poison ivy. I like using this 91% alcohol spray because it helps dissolve the oil. I also keep a good poison ivy weed killer with me or close by me anytime I'm out in the property. And I walk our whole property 3 to 4 times a year and spray any poison ivy that I find. We used to have hundreds of poison ivy plants growing on our property, but now I usually only see a handful each spring. Well, even after you've done everything right, accidents can still happen. So if you get a rash from the poison ivy and it's severe, go see your doctor. And if it's a milder case, just try not to scratch it. I know that's easier said than done. Also, try staying in a cool area. Heat and sweat always seem to make the itching much worse. I've also had several friends tell me that they've had really good success with a couple of over-counter products. One is Absorbing Junior. They say it relieves the itching and it dries the rash, although it may sting a little bit when you first apply it. Another product that people recommend is Irritating Poison Ivy Itch Spray. Several friends told me they spray that on first, they let it dry, and then they apply Irritating Poison Ivy Cream. And they tell me that that combination works especially well for them. But everyone's skin is different, so always read and follow the directions on the label. And put down in the comments anything that you found to work really well. So looking back, I've spent years trying to stay away from poison ivy. What I eventually learned is that I wasn't really fighting the plant, I was fighting the oil. And today, I'm still extremely allergic to poison ivy, but by learning to recognize the plant and understanding how the oil spreads and protecting my skin and then cleaning up as soon as I'm finished working, I haven't had a poison ivy rash in years. Well, I hope this video has helped you and it'll keep you from getting a really bad poison ivy rash. And if you learned something new today, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps you to recommend this video to other people who are trying to avoid poison ivy. And I'd also like to hear from you. Have you ever gotten poison ivy? Or if you found an over-the-counter product that really helped, leave it down in the comments. Your experience may help someone else. I also put links to the products. You'll see them right down here in the corner of this video. Or I'll put a link right down in the description. So thanks for watching. You take care and God bless.